Today I want to talk about vampire fiction. Woo! So, for the purposes of discussing vampire fiction today, there's a few things I wanted to address. First, I wanted to talk in more detail of the media I was consuming growing up in my childhood and in my teens that helped to influence my obsession over vampire fiction, alright? Because everyone starts somewhere, everyone has their own experiences and stuff, and it might give you some ideas of what to check out for stuff yourself, you know. That's not a bad thing. And then the second portion of this video, I'm going to talk about what I feel vampires represent to me. It's a little different for everybody, and I just wanted to weigh in on that. Just get it out there, you know. And then for the final portion, I want to talk about why I think everyone who writes should write their own vampire fiction story. Seriously, I don't care if you're a hobby writer or a formal author. I think everyone should, and I will discuss that towards the end of the video. So, where did the influences regarding vampires start for me? Interesting question. So, there were some books that helped influence it. One particular obvious one. But I was also influenced by some media as well. Some, like movies, TV shows, and stuff. Surprisingly, one of them is not Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not the TV show anyways. I did watch the movie though. That one was fun. I love how it didn't fully take itself seriously. But in terms of books, my earliest exposure to vampires would be, I think, Bunnicula, which very cute book, by the way, great for kids. And the first book in the Scholastic's Adventures of the Bailey School Kids, Vampires Don't Wear Polka Dots. I loved that book. I loved it because the mystery about it, because like pretty much everything pointed to the teacher being a vampire, if you knew, putting everything together, and yet they purposely left it ambiguous because the author wanted that. And like that really drew me into that. And then of course in my teen years I was exposed to Anne Rice and started reading the Vampire Chronicles. So, and that's where that really took off. In terms of non-reading material, there were several things. I just mentioned the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, which again, it's funny. It's a great 90s movie. I recommend you go watch it. I'm pretty sure it's a 90s movie. Either 90s or late 80s. I'm pretty sure it's 90s though. And there was also the that 1960s sci-fi vampire film Planet of the Vampires I mentioned in my video from last week. That one was an interesting movie. I don't know, I haven't watched it recently, so I don't know how well it holds up, if at all. But you might want to check that one out if you're so inclined. I remember watching, there's a Canadian television network for kids called YTV. I don't know if it's still called that now, but I'm guessing it probably is. And they have their own programming, of course. And there was one that I loved watching when I was younger called Vampire High. And it had only 26 episodes. And I looked this up yesterday so I could get my facts right around this. Apparently they had the scripts for all the episodes for the second season written up, and yet they canceled the show after the first season with no notice, nothing explaining as to why. And I'm kind of salty about that because I really liked that show. I watched it every time it was on TV, even if I saw the episodes before, and I will forever be salty about never being able to see what the second season had in store. One of the things that I saw a lot, there was a lot of older anime movies that I had seen on TV when I was a kid, and one of them was a Vampire Hunter D film. I don't know which one it was. I don't know if there's more than one. I honestly have no idea. I haven't looked it up. But I do know there they're a series of books, so I'm gonna work on getting those. But I remember really liking that movie. That one was really good. And then, of course, I've seen the movie version of Interview with the Vampire, which is a great film. Probably the only thing that can trump that is the upcoming AMC series for the Vampire Chronicles, whenever it is they finally get that out the door. Oh, and I also, early adult years, I remember, early 20s, I remember there was this show on TV. It's another Canadian show based on a Canadian series of books. And it's called Blood Ties. And it's a detective series following a female detective named Vicky Nelson, I think. And she is joined by Henry Fitzroy, who is the illegitimate son of King Henry VIII, and he's a vampire. And I remember seeing a couple episodes of that one, and I remember enjoying it. I didn't see the whole thing, and the series didn't live for very long on TV. So that's probably the most recent thing. Because I really, like I said, I haven't watched a lot of TV or anything. My primary exposure for fiction, for vampires nowadays, is in fiction. Even when I was a younger person in the early 2000s, like, the majority of my exposure was just reading original fiction by other people that was centered around vampires. I searched that stuff on Fiction Press all the time and read it a lot. Alright, so how about what it means to me? What vampires in fiction mean to me. And this is of course different for everybody. This is just my take on it. But I know when I was younger, for me it represented a way of breaking free of the shackles of the parents, family, society, school, all that, and just becoming your own person, becoming someone who has a clean slate, becoming someone who is great. Not good, great. Very key difference on those words there. Vampires are not good people. They are never good people. But they may be great people. And then the fact that they aren't usually represented as having the same kind of prejudices that humanity holds. So many different TV shows, movies, books, whatever, they don't focus on that a lot. There's not as much sexism or prejudice against queer people or racism even. Like, there's not a whole lot of that at all. It's just like vampires always seem to be united in the one thing that is, hunt humanity because that's how we live, and make sure they don't know about us. And if they do, we kill them. So that seems to have taken priority over anything else. And I really liked that they all seemed to have their own thing that was so different from what humanity has. And I've really carried that with me into what I'm writing, that people who become vampires, like, for the first while, they're still trying to grapple with the differences, but then once they get used to it, it's just like, oh yeah, okay. I mean, not that there is vampire media that doesn't have that stuff, because depending on what you're watching and the time period it came from, there is some of that stuff there. But the primary focus is on other things. Now, what about writing vampire fiction? Okay, because I'm writing I know some people who are watching this channel are writing their own vampire stuff as well. I haven't read that many different vampire books so far. I've read some, of course. But I think the more I delve into books by different authors and I read what it contains, the more and more I become a bigger advocate for more people delving into vampires and writing it and doing their own takes. Some of my favorite books or some of the ones that left a huge impact, or ones that decided to do things a bit differently, or they just decided to do their own take on it. And I discussed some of this in the previous video, so I'm not going to repeat it too much here. But I really, really think that vampires wouldn't just be an occasional publishing trend, that it would become more of a normal thing to have on the shelf if more people did it, right? Publishing is a business just like anything else. And there are trends that come and go, and, you know, publishing exists on predicting trends and acting on those predictions, very much like how fashion works and other similar industries. But there's just some things that you always see no matter what, right? You always see historical fiction, you always see contemporary fiction, you always see fantasy, you always see science fiction, and different versions of that. And I know that's mostly just primary genre stuff and not really more niche-y subject matter stuff, but considering all the different ways that vampires can be interpreted, and don't forget, there's not just the blood-drinking vampires, but the energy-consuming ones as well. If you're someone who's not a fan of the blood-drinking ones, write one about psychic vampires. We don't see that much at all these days. I could probably list off one author in our modern era that has written both a vampire novel about blood-drinking vampires and one about parasitic vampires or psychic vampires. Just one. That's it. And that is another way that the subject matter of vampires can be diversified, is like, do a different type, do a different approach, write it differently, put your own spin on it. My issues with the vampires in the Twilight Saga, for example, do not come from the fact that they have sparkly skin. I don't give a damn if they sparkle in the sunlight. I really could care less about that. My issues come from other things, not that. And I have no qualms against someone who wants to do their own take about vampires, alright? I think it's good for the subgenre or subject matter, whatever you want to call it, as a whole to do that. I think it should become more normal, because you have so many different other things that are representations or analogies for other things. And I really think that it would be very, very beneficial for more people to write this, whether you're a hobbyist writer, like a lot of writers are, or if you're actually trying to write fiction as a career. I think it would be beneficial. I don't want to see vampires as restricted to just a publishing trend or something that only really happens all the time in self-publishing. I want it to be a normal thing. And, you know, we have horror fiction in general, you know. So why can't we always see vampire books on the shelf? We don't because it's niche. We don't because not everyone sees it or wants to see it, or maybe they just don't know it's there. There are so many books I found out about only because I went researching and went digging really, really hard for a long time, and I know there's ones I still missed. They're not promoted very much. The only ones that are promoted are the ones that made a crap ton of money or are the most well-known, like Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles or Stephanie Meyer's Twilight Saga. Outside of that, when are you likely to hear about vampires? Any kind of Dracula incarnation, perhaps, or reinterpretation. That's pretty much a given, because everyone knows about Bram Stoker's Dracula. Outside of that? No. Nada. And I believe we, as writers, have the power to change that. So this is what I want to propose to you. Think about what vampires mean to you. What could they possibly mean to you? And I want to see different interpretations also affected by culture too, because culture can play a huge aspect in this. That's another reason why I mentioned psychic vampires, because some cultures are more prone to or adverse to the whole blood drinking thing. Not everyone is good with that, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So even with the psychic vampires, different cultures, how they affect it, and how they affect interpretations, how people think about them, and so on. So if you take nothing else from this video, then I hope you take away that. So I hope this video kind of helped you think a little bit. I look forward to hearing about different ideas you might have. I look forward to if you're writing your own books, what are you thinking about? You don't have to be too detailed, because I know I like to keep some things to myself until I know for sure I have everything settled. Probably the same for you too, though if you're a hobbyist writer, it probably doesn't matter that much, because you're just writing for fun and not trying to make a career out of it. But I look forward to hearing from people what your opinions are, what your thoughts are, what vampires mean to you. If you were to write a vampire story, even if you're not thinking about it, what do you think you would do? I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!